Hey there neighbor, welcome back to Beyond ARTV. My name is John and today I'm doing a tier list ranking every famous musician that I've met. I'm talking rubbing shoulders with the elite. Your boy John has met at least 25 famous individuals or bands over time, and that is definitely a subtle flex. Oh, you haven't met your favorite artist? What are you, living in some state that they never even come to? What a loser. Obvious sarcasm aside, I'm not trying to just rub your face in all of the opportunities that I've been afforded because of what I do for a living, but with ARTV and just going to a lot of concerts and stuff, I've had some interactions, and I'll give you guys a bit of a story time. I decided to go in chronological order here, so starting back in 2003, we have Clay Aiken, an American Idol contestant. The same day in 2003 that he just so happened to be at the North Carolina Capitol, because he's from here originally, my 4th grade or maybe 3rd grade school was taking a trip to the Capitol building. So I ran into Clay Aiken, he shook my hand, and he asked me where I went to school. The interaction was a little awkward for me because I felt so much anxiety about having said "Go Ruben Woo" earlier, like as a joke to a local reporter, and even though I know he wasn't there when I said it, my anxiety was like off the charts, like he knows I like Ruben. I'm gonna give it a C. It was my first celebrity that I met. These next few were a concert that I attended. It's 303 Down with Webster and HelloGoodbye. This was my first legit concert that I attended because I wasn't really allowed to go to concerts until I was 18. The first one we met was 303, although the interaction was very, very brief and limited. I saw Sean and Nat. They came out at the end of the night and they were kind of at their merge table just for a moment. I said hey to them. They were kind of like, "Hey, what's up?" and just kind of shrugged it off. So if we're counting this one, I gotta put that in the D tier because it didn't really leave me with anything to remember or run home with. But however, on the other side of the fence, quite literally, the Canadians in Down with Webster, I would rate my experience up there in the A tier. I mean, it's borderline maybe, but at that point, it meant a lot to me as an 18-year-old going to my first show that all of the guys in the band took their time to talk to me. And the same kind of goes for HelloGoodbye, although Forrest Klein, the lead singer, I don't know, he seemed a little hesitant to take a picture with my friend even though he had just taken one with me. I guess you hit a certain quota and you get annoyed, so I'm putting him in the B for bad boy. At least my friend still got this amazing photo. Crazy story with this next one. So I was at Bonnaroo 2012, first time ever at a music festival, and my friend Josh and I went in early, not knowing that we weren't supposed to be in a certain area yet, or that they hadn't officially opened the festival grounds. We walked over to one of the stages because we started hearing music, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers were sound checking for their actual live headlining event that very night. Needless to say, I walked over to the stage and I got a little wave and a hey from Flea, which is so cool because he's obviously a bass god, so even though it wasn't a conversation, still definitely cool enough to put up there in the A, borderline S tier. Now we're an indie alternative band. I saw them open for the Naked and Famous in 2012, and they were actually cool enough to do an intro for my channel. Back at the time, it was called Album Review TV. They were super kind. That was how I got into their music in the first place, and I don't really know if they're still active at this point, but that one always meant a lot to me as a small creator, especially at that time. That one is going in the S tier. Aaron Bruno, it was just very brief. I think he was like walking back out to the bus and he came through the front of the venue, and I just briefly kind of got to say, "Hey man, I really dig your album that's out, Megalithic Symphony," and he's like, "Oh, thanks buddy." And it was really limited to that. So it's a C, I guess. I mean, not really a bad experience, but still not a ton. Switchfoot, however, changing gears completely. This was a very, very positive and cool experience. My friend and I won a giveaway that actually had meet and greet passes. The first of 2 times that that has happened to me in back-to-back years. But Switchfoot were just so down to earth and kind. We got to take a couple of pictures with them. They talked to us for a bit. I talked to John Foreman a little bit about my channel and having reviewed their music. So yeah, all around good guys. We come into a gray area next because I know with rapper, singer Hoodie Allen, there have been some like allegations, especially towards his band members. But my personal experience was with Stephen Markowitz, with Hoodie Allen, the artist and the person, were all extremely positive. He was so kind to me. In fact, he was the first artist that ever actually reached out to me and thanked me for reviewing their album. I met Relient K in 2014 under some very cold circumstances. I waited outside for hours in the cold after the show. I was sitting in my car part of the time, but I was kind of parked over near their bus, and a couple of other people kind of started to gather up, and I felt so weird doing this, but I had it in my head. I was like, okay, if I can meet Matt Thiessen, I will have him shoot a little intro thing for ARTV. And lo and behold, he actually did it.
Hey, it's Matt from Relient K, and you're watching ARTV.
But in hindsight, the poor guy, I met him, Dave, Matt Hoops, I met all of the guys, I got photos with them. They were nice the entire time. So for that alone, I will give them, I guess, a B. I met the entire band because I won a giveaway. One of my fans had tweeted me, and they told me, hey, Linkin Park are running this contest for every date on the tour, the Carnivores tour in 2014 with AFI and 30 Seconds to Mars. So I entered it, and what do you know? I get an email saying that I've won. I got to do a meet and greet with the entire band. I have my Meteora CD signed by every member, and Chester Bennington walked up to me and knew who I was, because just a couple of months before, I had reviewed The Hunting Party. I gave it a 5-star perfect score review. He retweeted it. He personally thanked me for the review then, and then he came up to me in person and he knew who I was. Like, what the fuck? Chester was cool enough to tell the security guard, hey, it's okay, let me get a picture with this guy. So obviously, all the way in front of everybody right there in the S tier. Very briefly, back in 2015, I met Lauren Mayberry, who is the frontwoman of the synth pop trio CHVRCHES. Incredible band, incredible live. I had gotten somehow a photo pass for the event. Well, I got a great video from that show, but even more importantly, I would say, I got a hey backstage from Lauren, and that was really it. It was kind of like shy and nervous on my end because I was starstruck because you're Lauren Mayberry. She kind of quietly says, hey, and like flashes a little smile, and that was the extent of our interaction. So I'm being positive by putting it in the B. I almost forgot about this one. I had to go through all of my photos to make sure that I got everybody, and while I didn't get one with Caleb Shomo of Beartooth, I did get a photo kind of backstage. My friend and I had gone to the show. She knew one of the members of his touring band, and so we kind of got to talk to Caleb just for a minute. He was kind of kicking it before the actual set started. He was watching the opening band. I guess I'd put it at a C. I kind of felt like just a background character, and that's fine. I don't know if this one qualifies, but I'm giving it an exemption anyways, because it happened, and it was very cool, and I got very excited, okay? I got to give him a quick little high five, handshake, something. It happened. We touched. I have touched the hand of a musician god. May I be struck down if I'm lying. B for Bellamy. All right, we're gonna go rapid fire through these next few because I met them all at Warped Tour 2018, I think it was. We have Microwave up first, an incredible rock band. They were super kind. I love talking to Tito in particular. We ran into him 2 or 3 times and he started to recognize us. But I loved their set that year. They were so kind, they talked to us, they even offered us bottled water because they could tell we were super hot, and Hannah and I just got to hang out with them, take a photo, all that good stuff. All around great vibes. I would definitely put that in the A tier. The British horror punks Creeper were somehow almost even kinder than Microwave by also offering us water and just being so kind, and all the members were kind of like rotating in and out. This was before the show started, and they came out and talked to us, took photos. It was such a good experience, and they seemed genuinely interested in conversating, and even the fact that I had talked about them on my channel before. So S tier. Rolling through more of the Warped Tour ones, we have Trash Boat next. We actually only really met the lead singer Toby, got a photo with him. It was very brief in terms of like length, but still, he was very kind. I would put that in the B tier. And then we had Citizen, who were at a festival that we were attending. I think this was Boston Calling, maybe 2018 or 19. And we went to their set, and then we got to meet up with them after because they were doing a sign meet and greet, buy a CD, get it signed, take a picture with this kind of thing. They were definitely kind of smiley, friendly, but it didn't really say much or go anywhere. We got the picture awkwardly with me kind of hunched over because I'm so tall, and that was that, so I'll put it in the C. Waterparks are up next, and if you don't know, this one is a hell of a story. Awsten Knight, the lead singer of Waterparks, and I had a bit of beef back and forth on Twitter. He had said a few things about like YouTubers that I just kind of took and didn't feel like he represented us in a very good light, and we went back and forth. Eventually he ended up DMing me his phone number and wanted me to call him so that we could call and talk and squash the beef, I guess, and we did exactly that. He actually later invited us out to go to Warped Tour, and we had backstage access, which was so incredibly cool. I have to tell you guys, I felt like such a badass. There were moments back there, people just walking around that I had seen since my childhood, and I'm like, holy shit, I am right here in the same place as you right now. Even though we were having some issues getting in, Awsten was kind enough to go out of his way to talk to their tour manager to get us in at the box office, and they welcomed us into their backstage rituals and everything. So it was us and Jeff and Otto. Waterparks, obviously S tier. Stand Atlantic are next, a pop punk band out of Australia. They actually came to a city not too far from me at all, and I got to meet and talk to Bonnie. Unfortunately, because of the way they were doing ticketing that night, I didn't get to see their set, like, at all. I missed all of it, and I was telling her how bummed I was, and I was super pissed about it, but it was kind of made up for by the fact that Bonnie was super cool. She talked to me for a bit, we took a picture. It was just a good time. It was nice to see somebody put a face to the name, even if I didn't get to catch the performance, so I put it in the A. Back to Warped Tour for a moment, because I forgot about this one. John O'Callaghan from the Maine, their lead singer. We actually met him while we were just walking around backstage. He was on his way, I guess, to get ready for their performance, and he was super chill. He's also very, very tall, kind of like me, so that felt really cool. We talked a bit about music, and I told him I had reviewed some of their records, which at the time, the most recent ones I think were Lovely Little Lonely and American Candy, and he was like, well, I hope you were gracious and gentle in your criticisms. And I was like, I loved both of the albums, John. You know what, I'm actually gonna bump that down to the A, and I'm gonna bump Creeper down too, because I don't want to overshadow what that actually means, because this next one, I'm already gonna go ahead and give you the spoiler right now. I don't know how, but They Found Me is an obvious S tier placement for me. Dallon Weekes, Ryan Seaman, two of the kindest people that you will ever meet in music. From the moment that we had set up the interview, they had reached out to me personally, thanking me for like a review of the EP, making a video, why you should be listening to I Don't Know How But They Found Me, and then to actually come onto their tour bus. They're with Waterparks on that tour, and everybody's hanging out. Awsten greets us, and then we have Dallon Weekes greeting me and giving me a hug, giving Hannah a hug. It was so nice. It was an incredible experience. I was very nervous, but they made me feel very at home. And then after the interview was over, Ryan and Dallon both talked to us for another solid 15 to 30 minutes. Hands down, one of the best interactions that I have ever had, and I just have a lot of love for those guys. We're almost done here, but Remo Drive are up next. We went to one of their shows when they were doing the Greatest Hits tour. It was probably like a year and a half after it came out. And our friends Crash Thompson and Viral Rack from YouTube were actually in town. We all went to the show. Eric from Remo Drive actually went out of his way to get us all on the guest list. He had it taken care of. We just had to show up, and we did exactly that. After the show, it seemed like both Eric and Steven were very, very busy, and we didn't want to bother them. They were actually meeting people and fans over at their merch booth. But then, on our way out the door, we had actually left because we decided we didn't want to bother them. I hear a name calling out to me saying, John, Hannah. And we're like turning around like, who is this? Is this just like a fan or something that knows us from YouTube? No, it was actually Eric, the lead singer and primary songwriter for Remo Drive, chasing us down this like alley saying, come back in, guys, we have free merch for you. Even though I don't really like the path that Remo have chosen, I can tell that they have good hearts. Struts, and they were just feeling super grateful, I feel, for the early exposure that places like me and the Needle Drop actually gave them, so I'm gonna put them in the S tier. The final two that I'm gonna talk about both happened at Sonic Temple Festival in 2019, meaning that as of right now, I haven't met any famous musicians in like 3 years. Wow, thanks COVID. Boston Manor I have seen live more than almost any other band. It just works out that way that they're on so many bills, and what do you know, I didn't meet them at any of their actual shows, concerts that I had paid for or anything like that. Sonic Temple invited us, like our group, the Rock Coliseum, to come out, and they were actually in the media tent, and they knew who I was. They took a picture with all of us, and it was very cool, and I think I would definitely have to put that in the A tier. But also, very, very cool, the Struts were there. They came through the media tent, and to have Luke Spiller, the lead singer, say, "Oh yeah, I know who you are, man. Like, I've seen the reviews on YouTube. Thank you for the coverage." For him to say that and the other members to, like, chime in too and just, like, agree, what the fuck, man? My mind was like on the floor somewhere over there. Absolute insanity, but they could not have been nicer. We were in a rain delay, so we actually just kind of got to hang out with the Struts for a bit because they were in there trying to stay dry. That was fucking awesome. I mean, this is a band that, like, got hand-selected to open for the Foo Fighters by Dave Grohl. So, yeah, they got the rock and roll. Very, very cool. I would definitely put that in A, borderline S. I would love to know from you guys in the comments section, who have you actually met, if you have met anyone, and what was your experience like? What was your best? What was your worst? While you're down there, please hit that like button, subscribe for the love of music. You can check out some of my recent videos on screen now, and I'll be back soon with more on Beyond ARTV.